Hello and welcome to Script and Pencils. We are from the Comic Crush, as you can see, just down there. I'm Paul, your host. I'm joined today by Julia Madrigal. Her camera is freezing, as you may notice. So, sorry, guys. A few technical difficulties today. Julia, some of you may know, is an artist and comic writer who has worked on Wicked and Divine, the funnies. She has worked on Giant Days, just here. Hello. She's also worked on Lumberjanes, which I don't have in front of me. I'm sorry, I missed that.
All right.
It's probably during one of my non-comic buying periods. So, and now Julia is working on Mardi Gras 1993, which is a horror-themed comedy, shall we say. We're going to get more into what it's about in a second. That's coming from the publishers, the Spaceman Project, who are based in Europe. And that book is on Kickstarter right now. Julia's going to tell us all about it. And hopefully you are then all going to go and back that book. That's what we want, ideally. Julia, welcome to the show. This is a reunion for us because we haven't seen each other since I think November 2019.
Pretty much, yeah.
But we were the original retail terrors at Orbital. We used to work the till at Orbital together, causing havoc, chaos.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mayhem. Screaming at people that bent comics up.
They deserve
it. But yeah, so we used to work together. So if it gets a bit colloquial and informal, don't worry. That's just the way we are.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes, pretty much. So, Julie, you've got this career now that's kind of really bubbling up in kind of indie comics. You've done the Giant Days issues, you've done the Lumberjanes issues, you did the funny book for Wicked and Divine. What made you then move to the kind of Kickstarter method for this particular book and this publisher? What was it that kind of triggered that decision, if anything?
It's been pretty much the opportunity. I happen to know this editor, and I was talking to him like, "Look, I have this project," and he was like, "Oh, actually, I like it. Would you like to put it out with us?" And that's it. Okay. It wasn't any specific thing. It just happened to. They just happened to be interested in my work, and I went on with it.
And just briefly, what is the book about? I know it's a vampire-themed story. It looks terrific. It looks like a lot of fun. But just for the audience at home who are watching and listening today,
to be honest, the fastest way to describe it is vampire. Interview with Vampire meets Murder She Wrote. So it's like. It has all the drama of the vampire condition, but with fun and just discovering this kind of mystery. Like there's this tourist disapparition thingy going on, and they're not sure if there might be a vampire hunter in town or what is going on exactly, and so the tourist office. It happens to end up in charge of discovering what is going on. So, and they're kind of wacky people with silly personalities. So it's kind of, fun, drama, action, adventure. It has a little bit of everything.
That sounds great. I'm a real kind of, I love vampire fiction, and I feel like to a certain degree it reached a pinnacle with Interview with the Vampire. That's one of my favorites. And I certainly love the books by Anne Rice and the movie, the first movie anyway. I'm not too fond of Queen of the Damned, but yeah, for some reason I'm in a minority. I'm in an internet minority on that one. So I'm assuming that those kind of are interests of yours as well? I mean, for as long as I've known you, you've kind of always been into kind of Lost Boys and other vampire fictions as well, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
quite indeed.
When did that start for you?
When did that stop? Like it's it kind of has always been there. Like just look at me. Come on, look at my room. But the goth teenager background shit, it just never stopped. It wasn't a phase, Mom. It's just the way I am.
But okay, so what is it about those sorts of fictions that appeal to you, do you think?
I don't know. To me, I'm more. I think it has to do. Like, wow, I'm gonna get deep now. I guess it's like thinking of eternal life in a way that I'm attracted to that. Also because I'm an artist, and just something that I think a lot about is the legacy that I'm going to have. That I might be gone at some point. I will, but just like more views, like how long will my works last after I'm gone, and what kind of legacy will I leave in the world, and that kind of thing. And eternity is something that I find quite interesting. Also, the angst of being alive, like, oh no, my existence is horrible. I'm a monster. That is something that I find quite attractive.
The camera is freezing in some fantastic, well chosen positions, which I promise you, I've got nothing to do with.
Great.
Sorry, folks. Believe it or not, we are just in separate parts of London. It actually probably seems like we're doing this across an ocean, but we are not. We are in just separate parts of London. Thanks, internet.
Yay.
So just like being relatively early on in your career as you are now, and I don't mean that in a kind of disrespectful way, because it's fair to say you're relatively, you're kind of at the start of a career almost, but not quite, because you've been doing this for a while, but not.
But I've been doing it for a while, but nothing has happened for years. Like everything just started like 3 years ago, to be honest.
Yeah. So a lot of that is building skills and talent, and all of which I feel you've got in abundance, and obviously you're working to pay bills like the rest of us are. But do you necessarily want to be thinking about legacy this early on, or do you feel that's something that artists should concern themselves with from the beginning?
I think it's just the thing that this is just something of my own fears and things like that, and it is just something that obsesses me in that way. I don't think it has nothing to do with specifically being an artist, but it's something I put into being an artist, like what is going to happen to me. I think it just has to do with death and all that stuff, and is the way I process it.
Okay, that's interesting. And I think that's something that's probably on a lot of people's minds at the moment, given the kind of worldwide situation we're all in, how we process the end. So to talk about something light, I mean, your style does tend to suit, or the style that you genuinely tend to apply does seem to suit a more comedic tone. And I've always loved your stuff because I always have fun reading it, which I think's important in a lot of comics is to actually have fun reading the stuff. Do you see yourself at some stage moving on to darker things, like darker material, or do you prefer to kind of keep it light and keep it sort of?
The funny thing is that I do dark things, but I try to approach it from sass, from comedy, from all that kind of stuff. Like I did a little comic not so long ago about dealing with frustrations in the comic world with sexism, with people just treating me in a bad way for being a woman in the comic world. And it has happened to me as a comic consumer, as a comic artist, and as a comic seller. And I just did a little thing of me just going on rampage, just killing everyone that was in front of me and breathing in their blood.
I remember it well, yes.
But
I was there witnessing that comic's creation. So,
but it's a fun thing, but I'm talking about sexism and how frustrating it is that people are just not taking me serious for being a woman and being kind of cute. And
I mean, then you look at vampire fiction. Do you think that, at least in terms of protagonists, vampire fiction is very much driven from a male point of view, or do you think the opposite is true?
What do you mean?
Like the protagonists of vampire stories are, you know, not exclusively, of course, but in a lot of cases are male. And you know, I'm just saying, like, is it then a thing where a lot of people are always looking at that type of fiction from a male point of view? And I'm not saying that's good or bad, or I'm just saying thing is, rather than, you know.
Well, they're male because most of the creators are male, but
sure.
or most of the people that are allowed to create are male. But that's another discussion. But Anne Rice, for example, like, she's got all kinds of characters, and they might be male, but they have very fluid sexuality and things like that. And she attaches. She just deals with more stuff, and I don't know. I don't think it's too much of a thing, and it's just all this comes to me like, yeah, this is a male character, and who wrote it is a male creator. I'm thinking about the game Vampire the Masquerade, which is mostly white male doing something, and most of it is male. And it just, I think it just has to do with the creators. Like this original script, it was the script was going to be a co-production. I was going to do just the art, and I was going to have a writer working with me, but it didn't work out in the end. And compare my script to his, which is in the end a very different story, but most of the characters that he wrote as male, like maybe 2/3 of the cast, if not more, were white men. And I'm like, okay, so in New Orleans, 60% of the population is black, and I just, you as a creator, unless you're self-aware of things, you just, without thinking it, tend to reproduce what you have around you. And if you're mostly surrounded by men, white men in particular, you're going to do that on your scripts. And what I've been trying to consciously do, for example, is to put more women on the script and more people of color in the script, just taking a look of how the New Orleans population is made of. Like,
So in looking at New Orleans, what made you set it there? Because it is a place that is, I think, for a lot of people, like, I would consider myself an outsider to New Orleans in that A, I've never been there, and B, I've only ever seen it in fiction, but it does seem a place that's sort of partially driven by ritualism and almost like a kind of magic and stuff. And obviously, you know, Anne Rice's fiction is one of the kind of proponents of that. Is that what made you set it there?
To be honest, it's accidental, because it was based, all of this originates from a role playing campaign that we had, that we made like a year ago. and I was that finished a year ago, and I was like, dude, like this is something that we can totally turn into a script. Like, I think is a good story, and changing enough things. Because like the campaign was almost like 2 years, and you cannot put that in 120 pages. So lots of the story had to be simplified. Lots of the secondary characters were just gone or merged into one character and things like that. And it needed a lot of rework, but like the skeleton of it was an interesting story, and that's pretty much where the concept and everything comes from. But to be honest, New Orleans has, as a city, it seems a perfect city for vampires to thrive, and it just made, besides the campaign and everything, it just made an interesting setting, and I was like, oh well, let's see if I can give it a twist and explore it a little bit. And it's funny because it's in 1993, and in 1994 is when the movie Interview with the Vampire was released. So I can make a lot of comments about the hype of Anne Rice, which actually became problematic after the book came out.
Yes. I mean, I always found them fascinating books, and as I said, I love vampire fiction myself. I know you do. What were the type of things, like the tropes or cliches, that you maybe try to avoid in doing this, or did you kind of embrace that stuff? The trappings that vampire fiction can give you.
I just use it.
Sorry, was that something you embraced? Sorry.
No. It's just I use the vampire lore from here and there, just taking from different pieces of fiction. But I mean, I guess the angst, the thingy of feeling like maybe some religious dread, like I am a monster, do I have a soul? Maybe there's a little bit of it in that. The thing of, oh, I'm being immortal, all my family and friends are going to die is also there. The thing of eternity and how it might affect you, it's also there, but it's pretty much I kind of a slice of life, and they are going to have very normal, let's put it like that, very normal problems, like how do you make relations? How might it affect you if you're supposed to be with someone, with another immortal? If you consider immortality is like, okay, I'm going to be with this person forever, and then this person is taken away, how does it affect you? It's pretty mundane, to be honest. I'm not going to be with very grandeur things, but it's more a group of misfits that are just hungry for a family and hungry for relations. When you are an outcast from humanity and a little bit of a misfit in your undead society, how you can just connect with somebody else. And it's a little bit of that as well, besides the mystery and all that, the crime solving part.
And like, can you see a time when you'll kind of turn away from vampire fiction? Because I mean, for me, I was really, really fascinated with it in, like, I think up to like the early 2000s, and then for some reason it just kind of fell away. Have you had that experience yet, where the type of fictions you become interested in sort of fade away? Have you had that? I mean, every now and then something comes along and kind of reinvigorates it for me, but
no. It's what I like. And it manages, whenever it pops out back again in pop culture, like in history, when it's been popping up, it's been dealing with insecurities of the time or with concerns of the time. So every time it comes back, it's different. So it's just depending what kind of flavor do you like. I like the flavor of the 90s, of the 90s
Yeah, sure.
vampires.
Yeah, sort of
And
87 to 97 is me, really. that kind
uh,
of 10-year.
Lost Boys in 1987 is good. But
Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately, it is stuck in time, and it's a flavor of things that are not coming back. So it's not like I'm into this trend that it's happening right now and then it's over and I don't have it anymore and I'm off from the train. No, it's something that it's already over and I just happen to like it. So it won't fade away. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, no, that actually makes perfect sense. Yeah, I completely
And
get that.
you know, besides Lost Boys, which is actually one of my favorite films, it is about vampires, but it's also about homosexuality. It's also about different kinds of families. How it is okay for just to have a single parent, and those kids, they're not, how I say it. They're just not being bitter to the mom, like, oh mom, I hate this, I wish you stayed with dad and things like that. No, they are supporting the mom in the divorce, and it just sheds a positive light in all those matters that were starting to happen, like put a positive light on different kinds of family. And I think it was I don't know. It wasn't just a movie about vampires, which I think is the movies that just tends to fade away. I think it's the ones that use the horror thingy as a setting, but then they talk about something else in the core. I think those are the ones that stick with you. And you just like the flashy things, but you really like it for something else.
Yeah, and as you say, they're often used for metaphors in society about various things. And I'd like to see the first sort of post-COVID vampire story and see what that's going to be like. And I think that may be you. Like you may already have that.
No, they're thriving at the moment. Like it was what was it called? There was in 2 years or last year, I think there was a movie called Bit or Bite, or I can't remember. It's about this team of female vampires, and it's a gang of female vampires. Then there was Vampires versus the Bronx.
Oh yeah, sure, the Netflix movie, which had an interesting kind of sort of take on it.
It's another metaphor.
Yeah,
it's another metaphor of people taking over those areas, and there is also a French TV series about that, about vampires. There are 2 video games coming out soon-ish from different producers. Like, really, it's 4 games, but let's just say it's 2, and things like that. And I think for some reason it's another era for vampires. Like the cycle is back. The cycle that Twilight started 14 years ago. It's happening again, and then it will be zombies again, and then
yeah, they never quite go away. They never quite kind of, literally bite the dust. Can I just ask you briefly about working with the Spaceman Project? How's that experience been? So just for the audience at home, Spaceman Project raised money via Kickstarter to publish the graphic novels in Europe and the UK and the US. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about the US because it works distribution over there. It works a little bit funny, but I think if you order from the US on the campaign, it can be delivered to you. But I don't think after the campaign they will be distributed there. But the way it works is that it raises money for the creators, because usually when you're making a comic, you're not getting paid until that comic is sold.
Right.
So you get royalties and you get things like that. But Spaceman Project is raising production money, so you actually get paid while you're making the comic, and then royalties and all that comes after.
And I can't emphasize enough what an important model that is, because I think part of the problem for artists is, and it's easy for us as readers to complain about, oh, this book is delayed or that book is delayed, and it's like, well, sometimes it's because, you know, the creators of those books have lives, and sometimes those lives are disrupted by the fact that they have to take on other work in order to keep money coming in, you know, commissions, etc., whether it's covers or, you know, whatever, or they have medical needs, you know, that are costing them money, and because it is, you know, being an artist is quite actually hard on the body, being a comic artist, and it's sort of an unfortunate thing that I've come to realize over the last few years, is that it's quite physically draining for a lot of people. So I think this is a model that, you know, is perhaps really necessary right now, and it sounds,
it is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and also much like Unbound, who raised money to publish their graphic novels in the UK. So, do you feel that, given the kind of popularity of Kickstarter at the moment, that kind of the crowdfunding model will perhaps become a sort of dominant or quasi-dominant way of making comics for a lot of people in the next few years?
I'm not sure. Because despite everything, luckily I'm still working with a publisher, and they take care of distribution, they take care of printing, they take care of all that. Because otherwise, if it's just a Kickstarter on your own, you just go insane, because it's like you have to make the product, and that is tedious enough, and then you have to take care of, well, how am I going to sell this, how I'm going to put it on stores and things like that. And I think it's very, very difficult to get to reach a lot of people being a one-man's band. Publishers and things like that have already the channels to distribute it to a big quantity of people and things like that. And it's just, for small creators and for people that just wants to do the product or has a lot of presence online and things like that, it's okay. But if you want to make like a normal comic and just put it on stores and things like that, it's very difficult to just do it on your own. You don't have the time. Either you have people working for you to do that, or you just can't. So the publishers have platforms already created that you don't. So it's,
Sure.
I don't know, it's a lot of work. So I'm not sure it's going to happen. It might happen that another models of publishing start to appear, like webcomics and things like that. That for sure. But regarding on printing and distributing, it's quite tedious. So I'm not sure.
Right. Okay.
Webcomic license, yeah, because you don't have to publish or anything like that. Or eventually someone buys the right to print the comic and they do distribution for you. But rising on webcomics and things like that, and people just getting money to put in things online, yeah, for sure. I think that is going to be, because it can't be that like you're getting miserable rates that you're not being even paid the minimum per hour when you're doing comics sometimes. And it's just getting more and more difficult to just work of just doing this unless you're working for the big publishers. So some of the model has to start happening, or people are just not going to be able to just work on comics.
True.
Unless it's, you know, the big ones.
Well, like, I think that opens up a fascinating sort of avenue of discussion, but not one we can do today, unfortunately. But
Some other day.
yes, definitely some other day. I'd love to have you back on talking about, you know, what you're doing next. Perhaps when the book comes out, and we can kind of retrospectively take a look at what the experience was like. If people want to support this, they need to search for Spaceman Project, Mardi Gras 1993. Is that correct? .com, right?
Yeah,
I will put a link in the. Yeah, I will put a link in the description. So please do kind of consider supporting this, guys, if you like fun sort of horror fiction and a kind of riding that 90s nostalgia wave for vampires right now. Then
yes,
this is definitely the book for you. I've taken a look at some of it.
Horrible fashion.
No different from how we dressed every day at Orbital, I think.
I'm not sure. Those haircuts. Oh my god.
Someone today put on Twitter a picture of Winona Ryder from Reality Bites. Do you know that movie?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is how you think Gen Xers looked. And this is how we really looked. And it was just kind of, you know, high school or uni yearbook picture. And it's just like, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is a book worth supporting. I will put something up on the site for it. How long have we got to go, Julia, before this?
I think we're pretty much in the last 9 days, I think. So yeah.
Oh god. Okay.
Not
right. So yeah, something you need to do quite quickly, guys. So we'll do a little push on this on the Comic Crush, I think, from tomorrow, or from today, I guess. By the time this goes out, I'm sort of time warping all over the place right now. But yeah, do support it. It looks terrific. It looks like a lot of fun. It carries a lot of Julia's humor, I think. For any of you that know Julia from Orbital, you'll know what a dark sense of humor she's got. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
And we'll leave it there. Julia, thanks so much for coming on. It's been great to talk to you. Great to see you finally after all this time.
Thank you for having me.
You know, it's my pleasure. Sorry again for the technical issues, guys. But yeah, hopefully the next review we do will be
my fault.
We had. I think I should just publish a recording of the conversation of us trying to get this working.
Yeah.
But Julia, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck with the rest of the Kickstarter campaign. Best of luck to the guys at Spaceman Project and to yourself. And I know your color assistant and your editor are all working hard as well. Good for them. I hope it goes well, and wishing you all the best for this book. Guys, all the links are going to be in the bottom. Please support us on Patreon if you can. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe on the video. And we'll catch you next time on The Crush. Goodbye, Julia.
Bye.
And goodbye from me.